For many years, OBS has been one of the most popular choices for live streaming software, but would you say OBS if I told you that there might be a potentially better option like Ecamm Live, which could fill you with glee? Please keep watching this video despite that intro. So today I wanted to run down the differences between Ecamm Live and OBS to help you decide which one might be best for you, and I will admit right up front that I am 100% biased and I prefer Ecamm. Just get Ecamm and you'll be happy. However, I don't think that that's totally fair because OBS has been around for a really long time and a lot of people, myself included, kind of got our starts with OBS. OBS is free, it's open source, and it's Mac and PC compatible, and it is super powerful. So there's a lot to really love about OBS, and the people who work on it constantly work to make it better and better, and I love that it puts so many really powerful tools in people's hands and makes them super accessible. So there are a lot of really great things about OBS, and there are a lot of people for whom it fits in their workflow perfectly. So even though I personally prefer Ecamm, I want to help you understand why that is and also why OBS might be the best choice. But before we get into the finer points on both applications, let's talk about what they both do really well. At their core, OBS and Ecamm Live both let you stream directly to the platform of your choice: Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, whatever it might be, even your own private streaming server if you have something like that set up. They can both also record directly to your computer, which can be really helpful because you don't have to worry about memory card space. And if you have a camera, Canon, that has a record limit, an arbitrary 30-minute record limit, recording directly to your computer will circumvent that so you don't have to deal with that recording limit on your camera anymore. So you're only limited by how much power you can continuously supply to your camera and how much hard drive space you have. Both applications let you create different scenes, so that way you're not always building everything on the fly. You can create different shots, different scenes that include graphics, camera angles, video sources, audio sources, whatever it might be, and you can save those and easily switch between them using hotkeys on your keyboard. They're so hot. Or something like a Stream Deck, which will work great with both applications as well. And of course, both pieces of software let you bring in multiple audio and video sources. So if you want to mix stuff like a cam link with a screen share, with an ATEM, with a webcam, with a Rodecaster, plus a USB mic, plus a loopback source or something, you can totally do that. So let's start off by taking a look at OBS, which, as I mentioned, is entirely free software. You can get it right now, you never have to pay anything for it, and it is Mac and PC compatible. This is what the main interface looks like, and you can kind of change a few things. You can also go into studio mode here, which will have more of like a preview program mode, where in this left window is where you will see what's coming next, and the right window is where you will see what's actually being broadcast, and then you can fade between them. Basically, it's almost like something like a software version of an ATEM Mini or a video production switcher. Studio mode does tend to take a bit more processing power from your computer, so if you have something newer like one of the M1 Macs, it shouldn't be an issue, but if you have an older computer, you might notice that when you're in studio mode, your stream starts to look a little laggy and jumpy, and then when you switch back to the regular mode, you don't have those issues anymore. However, you also then don't have the preview functionality. So whatever works best for your computer. You've got your audio sources here, which if I had more, I could scroll down in this little window and see more audio sources. And then this is where you can add in your audio and video sources. And this little window over here is where you can create different scenes. In both of these applications, scenes are more powerful than they might seem on the surface. And the basics are actually pretty simple. So if I want to add in a source, for example, I can just click this little plus icon, and then I'm going to add in a video capture device. You can name it what you want. I'll call this Cam Link, because that's what I'm using right now. Once you add in your source, you can position it wherever you want on OBS's, canvas, so you can scale it up so that way, hey, look, my image is taking up the whole thing here, or you could, make it if I want to do a split screen or something like that. OBS also lets you have full control over whether you're gonna squish or smash something. Now, this might be a problem because you might not want to look like this in your stream. However, this could actually be very cool because you could do something like put an anamorphic lens on your camera. And if your camera doesn't have an anamorphic mode, you could then take your video source in here and squeeze it. So normally if I adjust the size of my video source, it's gonna keep everything in proportion. but if I hold down Shift while I do that, then it will let me sort of distort and squeeze and warp everything, which means if I had an anamorphic lens on this camera, I could de-squeeze my anamorphic footage, and then I could actually stream with an anamorphic lens. That's a very specific use case, but it's really cool. I could add in another source if I wanted, so I can add in another video capture source. Say I had my GoPro Hero 10 connected, I could do that. So you can do things like add in an image source. Here I have a little PNG file that has my name on it, so if I wanted my name to be able to pop up, and then I can turn that on, take that off. You can do all kinds of cool stuff like that. And of course, OBS does, if you search online, there's such an active user community that you can find all kinds of resources. You can find plugins and extensions to do all kinds of really cool stuff, so you can expand the application to suit your needs if you don't mind spending the time figuring out how to do that. If I go back into studio mode, then that's where I can see, like, on the left right now is my next scene versus what's being shown. I can auto transition. I can transition back to them. And of course you can add in audio sources. So now I've added in the Rodecaster Pro, which would be my audio source, and you can see my audio levels bouncing up and down. I can adjust them a little bit here, and that way I can monitor my audio during my stream or my recording. A lot of times in any application, when you're doing audio and video capture, you're gonna have syncing issues where they're not going to be in sync or backstreet. And there's a couple easy ways to fix that. Within OBS, you can click the little gear icon and do advanced audio properties. And right here is where you can add in a sync offset by milliseconds. You're just gonna have to experiment. I usually start by typing in something like 500 milliseconds and then doing a recording or doing a test stream to see, like a private unlisted test stream, to see if the audio will sync up. And then once I have it, I kind of make a note of it. It takes some experimentation, but once you get it nailed down, you shouldn't have to change it again. And it's gonna be a little bit different for everybody, so there's no magic number I can tell you to type in that's gonna be perfect for your setup. You just gotta experiment with that. But speaking of audio properties, this is one of OBS's huge advantages over other software. I can click on the audio gear and then do filters. And in here, if I click the plus sign, there are all kinds of different filters that I can add in to my audio on OBS. All this kind of equalization that you would normally have to run through a different piece of software or do during editing, you can just add this stuff in to your audio signal right here within OBS. And that is very powerful because it means no matter what mixer or interface or microphone you're using, you can make sure that it sounds exactly the way you want it to going out into your stream without needing to bring in another software application. Now, of course, you do have your settings over here on the side, and this is where you really want to spend a lot of time in any application, but especially in OBS, primarily when you're going into your video, audio, and stream output settings. So sometimes you might have your stream set up, you add in a capture card, it's working, but nothing is showing up. And it might be because your base canvas resolution is set to the wrong size, or your output is set wrong, or one of the frame rates is selected wrong. So you just have to kind of make sure that everything is set correctly. That can be very frustrating, but the benefit to it is that you have that flexibility, that granular control over everything within OBS. And something new that OBS has added, which is pretty awesome, is virtual camera. Now what that means is in another application like Zoom, I can use OBS as my camera source. So I can use all of my settings, all of my effects, all that stuff that I've created in OBS, switching between scenes, adding graphics. That can be my virtual camera within any other application. I can just select OBS from there. In order to stream with OBS, you do need to go into the stream section. You can select your platform that you want to use, and then whichever service you have selected, when you press stream, that's where it's gonna start streaming to. And just like with audio, you also have video filters as well. So if I select my video source and I go up here and click properties, that's where I can select frame rates and all that stuff, or I can select filters and I can start adding in masks and color correction and chroma key and all that stuff right in there, and you can turn your filters on and off as well. So of course you could take OBS much further if you wanted to, but those are some of the basics, and as you can see, it is incredibly powerful, but you can probably also see that, yeah, you might need to spend some time experimenting before everything is totally up and running. And now let's see if we can switch gears to Ecamm real quick, and hopefully you'll see why I like it so much. Now what you'll probably end up noticing is, hey Tom, Ecamm does a lot of the same things that OBS does, but you have to pay for Ecamm and OBS is free. Yeah, you're right. And Ecamm's also not cheap. So at the time I'm recording this video, you have a few different plans with Ecamm Live. You can do a free trial for 14 days. That's actually how I got started, so I totally recommend that if you just want to try everything out and see if it works for you. There's a standard license and then there's the pro license, which is twice as much. You can either pay monthly and then you can cancel anytime, or you can pay yearly. And of course, like most things that offer a monthly or a yearly option, you do save some money purchasing by the year. That's what I do. I have the pro license, which is $384 a year. And that price I do think is worth it if Ecamm becomes a central part of your workflow, if you're using it for a lot of recording, a lot of virtual cam stuff, a lot of streaming. $384 a year comes out to just a little more than $1 a day. If you use that a lot, it easily, pays for itself, especially just for me, the lack of frustration and the ease of use in workflow, the reduction of friction in workflow. Yes. The standard plan works great if you want all of the flexibility, functionality, and basic streaming. The Pro plan gives you a few key features for me, which is 4K streaming. I don't care so much about streaming in 4K, but I like the ability to record in 4K. I really like being able to use the virtual webcam. Similarly to OBS, you can choose Ecamm Live in something like Zoom or another application as your virtual camera with all of the functionality that comes with that. And Ecamm Pro also has an interview mode where you can then share a link to someone and they can jump on your stream or do a recording. And you can do that whether you're actually live streaming or you're just recording to your hard drive. So it's really, really good for podcast interviews and things like that. Interview mode is a total lifesaver. Now this all here is what Ecamm Live looks like, but my Ecamm might not look like your Ecamm because Ecamm have totally different setups. You probably noticed that unlike OBS, the interface is entirely modular, which I found very confusing at first because everything can just sort of be everywhere all the time. But once you dive in, you realize this is super powerful, being able to sort of move things around however you want them. For example, if you're doing a live stream, I can click this little comments window up here, and now I can have live stream comments and reactions and everything right here. I'm not streaming, so there's nothing happening right here, but then I can see all of my comments. I can ban people if they get weird in the comment section. I can click a little button next to each comment and favorite it, so that way, as time goes on, I can click on my favorites and go back and address those specific comments. I can also search in comments. So if you've ever seen a stream where somebody says, be sure to put Q: before any questions, you could go here and type Q:, and then you'll be able to just see all the questions and you can skip all of the comments that aren't related to questions for your stream. And when your comments pop up here, you can also click on them to put them up on screen, and then you can resize them and totally customize them as well. The color, the style, everything like that. It's super cool. You need a separate extension and things to put comments on screen during OBS. You can go live directly from Ecamm once you're logged into your YouTube account or whichever platform you want, and then you just enter title, description, and click go live and you're all set. Or you can even go to a new scheduled live stream, and then here you can schedule a stream, and this will carry over into your YouTube studio, so you'll be able to log in to your YouTube studio and see your scheduled stream ready to go too. Down here at the bottom of this preview window, this is where I have all of my video sources that I can add in or switch between if I want to. And right now I am in just preview mode, but just like with OBS, you can also go into program mode, and now I have these two windows here where, I can add in a source here and then publish that, and you see that pop up down here in my, up here in this area. And you have that same professional control room switching ability if you want it. If I'm not doing a live stream, then I can just turn off the comment window and I don't need that space, and I can put more important things that I might need. Like my scenes window is really long and messy because it's not as organized as it should be, but I usually keep that right here so that way I can see everything. I've got sound effects. Maybe I'm gonna be using these sound effects, maybe not, since I'm probably using the Rodecaster Pro for audio, so maybe I don't need sound effects, but I really want my audio controls to be right here. I can add in different audio sources, I can mute them, I can change them. I've got the Rodecaster selected right here, but I can add in any different source that I want. And then there's also camera effects right here, which means these sliders will affect whatever you see on screen right here, brightness, color temperature, all that kind of stuff. You can even add a LUT. You can reset these things if you mess them up. And of course you can apply to all your scenes. You can apply it to one scene. You can change some of the specific settings here if you need to, and it's all just sort of right there for you. This is also where you can add in some chroma keying, and your overlay window in Ecamm Live is hugely important. So let's build a scene, for example. I'm gonna go to my scenes down here and click the plus icon. We'll just call this a test scene. And what I like to do when I'm building a scene is click on source in the menu bar and select blank. So that way there's nothing in this scene, and then I can build up from there. For example, I might want to add in an image overlay. I've got an image from my Blender donut tutorial that I've been working on forever. Maybe that could be my background. On top of that, I can click this little camera icon here, and now I can add in a camera overlay. I'm gonna select the cam link. Hello, I'm back here. Maybe I don't want it to be wide, maybe I want it to be square, maybe I want it to be a circle, or a rounded squarish circle, a squircle, or even custom where, much like OBS, I can change the size of it. However, I can't squeeze anything here. So I don't have that ability currently within Ecamm to like do that squish squeezy thing where I could like potentially use an anamorphic lens or something like that. Maybe one day. I can also go into my camera over here and click on zoom and pan, and then I can reframe shots here. I could have something like this if I were doing a review on my donut tutorial, and then I can go back to the default scene over here. I can have this one camera shot here. I can then click over here, and then I can add a hotkey through the Stream Deck to like show that my mind is totally blown by some fact right now, and then I can go back to the other scene here, turn off my anime lines. The same scene flexibility can be seen in OBS, but for me it just doesn't seem this simple to set things up and create them and add in overlays and stuff. If I want to add an image to Ecamm Live, I can just drag it over and then bring it in, and there it is. I can also just totally resize it, position it wherever I want it, adjust it however I want it, and delete it if I don't want it anymore. Oh, here's what a YouTube comment looks like. This is from a previous live stream. So here's a YouTube comment. You can resize them, you can adjust them, move them wherever you want. I can click the edit button, and that's where I can change all the fonts. I can change the colors. I can customize it and brand it however I want. You can even overlay videos. So I have my screen recording from the OBS part of this video. If I just drag it in here, now I've got a video playing, and I guess I could even add myself as another overlay here. Bloop. Select my right source. Hello. And we'll do this shape here. So now I can add myself as an overlay to this video over here. Now Ecamm Live is only for Mac. It does not work on Windows. However, I've known people who have gotten a Mac specifically so they can run Ecamm Live because they end up loving it so much. Even if they don't fully switch from Windows, they get like an M1 Mac Mini or something, like the cheapest computer they can get, and then they run Ecamm off of that for their streams and their recordings, and then still do all their other stuff on Windows if they want to do Windows. I know that there's a push for Ecamm to like be on Windows, but one of the reasons it works so well is because they do not have to develop for both platforms. Ecamm as a company is still relatively small. Like, they're big enough to have resources and develop stuff, but they're still small enough that they're super connected with their users. And the fact that they're just focusing on optimizing for one operating system means that it does work incredibly well, and it's really reliable and super stable. And while Ecamm and OBS both have huge fan communities, knowledge bases all over the internet, the Ecamm Facebook group is literally the only reason I even still have a Facebook account, because it's great. There's like 18,000 people or something as part of that group. Because you are a paying customer with Ecamm, you also then have more access to direct technical support from the company if you need it. And because you are their customer, they respond to you really quickly. So there's perks like that that do come with paying for products and platforms that you just don't get with free software, where you're kind of just on your own to figure it out because it's free. Now, just like OBS, you can go through Ecamm Settings and change just about everything that you want. However, what I have noticed is that Ecamm is significantly less picky about what settings you choose. So one of the things I do, for example, is I currently am shooting in this extra wide mode because I like to do the 2:1 aspect ratio for YouTube, but you can easily switch between different aspect ratios and frame rates all the way up to 60 FPS. I leave Ecamm at 60 FPS, even though I never stream at 60 FPS. And then it doesn't seem to matter if I put 24, 30, 60, if I mix all these different frame rates. Say I have a 30 FPS input that's coming from an A10 Mini, but I have a 24 FPS video clip that I want to play as part of that stream. It all looks great. So I don't know what that magic is that's happening behind the scenes, but I just leave my frame rate at 60 and then everything works great. When you're in your audio settings, you can go down here and do isolated audio tracks. This is awesome when you're using interview mode. This little icon here, if I click that, that brings up interview mode, and then there's a little link right there where if somebody had my link, I could just see them pop up here and then I can add them in. They would show up as a source down here and I can basically just add them in instead of the GoPro webcam image. It would be another person, or I can add in 5 people and I can rearrange it however I want. I can add overlays and create all kinds of cool graphics. But if I go into my audio settings and select record isolated audio tracks, when I'm done with that recording or that stream, I will get separate tracks for everybody who's in the stream, and that way I can take their audio, throw it into whatever software I use to edit my podcast. Now Ecamm also does let you put in an audio delay, and it's way easier than OBS. Right here you see this thing that says mic delay. I can click on that, or I could even go into my audio settings to add a mic delay. But basically, if I click on that, I can choose the number of frames. So instead of milliseconds, which gets a little confusing, it's just how many frames you want the delay. I usually keep mine at 5 frames. The one thing that's currently not there that OBS has a significant edge on are those audio filters and audio EQ controls and stuff like that. We can see our levels here, we can adjust our levels, we can bring in different sources, but that's kind of it currently. Ecamm also works incredibly well with something called NDI, and I have no problem looking you NDI to tell you that NDI is kind of friggin' amazing. You can download it for free from ndi.tv, and basically what that means is on my computer, if I open up NDI, I can go up to whatever source I want to select, which is just anything that's open on my computer. So in this case, we'll do the Notes app. Now, whatever I've selected in NDI will now be a source. This is my like bullet point checklist for this video in the Notes application, but it can be anything on your computer can then be your source. And there's also an application for your phone. And this is super cool. It also works on iPad. All I did was open the NDI application, and now through the magic of the internet, my phone has shown up as a source down here that I can add in, and now I have a wireless video source that I can use. Hey look, it's my camera. I'm running this crazy setup here where I've got a microphone running directly into the XLR input on my Sony FX3, and we're trying that out today. And if I wanted to add myself back here, look at that. There's me, there's what I'm pointing at wirelessly. And of course, everything I'm talking about can be used through the virtual cam mode as well. So when I used to teach high school digital media classes on Zoom during the early parts of the pandemic, I was using Ecamm for everything, to deliver lessons, to show presentations, to do video critiques. Everything was done through Ecamm Live, and it worked incredibly well. And so we could tear down more of the features between OBS and Ecamm Live probably all day, but my main goal is to show you that they're both very, very powerful programs. They're great applications. They both have strengths, but Ecamm Live for me was such a breath of fresh air that I started doing a lot more with it. What I have found with Ecamm is that because I trust it being so stable, I'm not worried about breaking anything. I tend to experiment a bit more, and anytime I have an idea of something I want to do in a stream or a recording or a video call or whatever, I can usually find a way to do it with Ecamm Live, and that's so creatively fun and fulfilling. So you really can't go wrong either way, but Ecamm is just sort of a next level of awesomeness for me. And speaking of awesomeness, thank you to everyone who helps support my channel through YouTube channel memberships and Patreon. I greatly appreciate you very, very much. And I did mention that a good computer can help you out with either of these applications, so check out my long-term review of the M1 Mac Mini and the 14-inch M1 Max MacBook Pro if you want to find a computer for the stream of your dreams.